There are roughly 400 espresso machines available to buy right now, depending on where you live and how far down the rabbit hole you want to go. Most of them cost between 200 and 1,000 euros, and most of them will disappoint you. Not because espresso is difficult, it isn't, once you understand what you actually need, but because the companies making these machines have figured out that people buying their first setup don't yet know what questions to ask. This channel buys its own machines. No sponsorships, no early review units, no affiliate codes. That matters here because what follows isn't a ranking of which machines have the nicest features on their product pages. It's a record of what these machines actually do, based on what we've found and what the home espresso community has documented over years of testing. We're going through 5 machines you should stop buying, and 2 that are genuinely worth your money. The 5 aren't all terrible in every sense, some of them are competently built. The problem is more specific. They're being sold as something they're not, and the people buying them end up with the wrong tool for what they actually want. The first machine is the De'Longhi EC685. The Dedica has been on the market long enough to have a real reputation, and that reputation is complicated by the fact that it looks like a serious machine. It's narrow, around 15 centimeters wide, which is genuinely useful in a small kitchen. It heats quickly, the build quality feels reasonable, and if you picked it up on a shelf you'd think it belonged in the category it's sold in. The problem is in the basket. The Dedica ships with a pressurized portafilter basket as standard. A pressurized basket has a second wall with a single hole that restricts flow and artificially builds pressure, regardless of how your coffee is ground or tamped. The result looks like espresso, there's crema, there's a dark shot in the cup. But the extraction process that created it bears no resemblance to what's happening in a machine with an unpressurized basket and proper 9-bar extraction. That matters because the Dedica is priced and marketed for people who want to learn espresso. Learning espresso means adjusting your grind, adjusting your dose, watching how the shot flows, building an understanding of what's happening in the cup. A pressurized basket hides all of that. You can grind too coarse, tamp too light, and the machine still produces something drinkable. The feedback loop that teaches you anything is gone. The machine can be modified. There are IMS baskets that fit the 51mm portafilter, and people do run it as a learning machine after spending another 40 to 80 euros on parts. But that's not what it's sold as, and most people buying a Dedica don't know the modification exists until after they've grown frustrated with the results. Then there's the thermoblock. It heats fast, which is one of the things De'Longhi advertises, but thermoblocks at this price point hold temperature inconsistently through a shot. Community testing has documented the temperature dropping mid-extraction. For a machine aimed at beginners, that's a quiet sabotage. The grind looks right, the tamp looks right, and still the shot tastes wrong, and you have no idea why. The second machine is the Breville Bambino BES450. The Bambino is a better machine than the Dedica in some real ways. It uses an unpressurized basket by default, the thermojet system heats in around 3 seconds, and at its price point it's not a bad piece of equipment. The issue is workflow, and it's one that doesn't show up in any review that tests the machine in isolation. The base Bambino, the standard BES450, not the Plus, requires you to brew first, then steam. The single thermojet can't do both at once, which means you pull the shot, wait for the boiler to switch modes, then steam the milk. For a flat white or a latte, that process takes longer than it should, and the shot sits in the cup cooling while you wait. If you drink straight espresso, the Bambino is a reasonable machine, but it's primarily sold to people making milk drinks, and the friction is real and daily. There's also no PID, no pressure gauge, no real visibility into what the machine is doing. Temperature accuracy is decent for the price, but there's no way to adjust it. You're trusting the machine's defaults, which works fine until you start asking why a shot tastes a particular way and have nowhere to look. The Bambino Plus addresses the workflow friction with auto steam. It textures milk hands-free while you manage the shot, which reduces the sequential bottleneck considerably. It's still a single thermojet switching between modes rather than running both at once, but the practical experience is meaningfully better. If you're considering this family of machines, the difference between the two models is worth understanding before you commit. The third machine is the Nespresso Vertuo. The Vertuo is not an espresso machine. That needs to be said plainly, because Nespresso markets it in espresso machine categories, it sits on shelves next to espresso machines, and people buy it thinking they're getting something equivalent. Vertuo uses centrifugation. The pod spins at high speed, and water passes through it. There's no pump generating 9 bars of pressure, which is what espresso extraction actually requires. What comes out is a coffee drink with a layer of foam on top. And that foam is the result of the spinning, not crema produced by proper extraction. The proprietary pod system makes it worse. There are no third-party Vertuo pods. You buy what Nespresso sells, at the price Nespresso sets, and that's it. The original Nespresso system, the one that uses the small cylindrical capsules, has a large third-party market and is at least honest about what it is, a capsule coffee machine. The Vertuo is that same thing, but positioned as something more, with a closed ecosystem and no exit. If you want convenient capsule coffee, the original Nespresso line is the cleaner choice. If you want espresso, the Vertuo isn't in that category regardless of how it's shelved. The fourth machine is the Philips 3200 LatteGo. Super automatic machines have genuine appeal. One button, beans go in, coffee comes out. For certain households, high volume, multiple drinkers, nobody wants to learn a workflow. They make real sense. And the Philips 3200 is one of the most commonly bought entry points into that category. The reasons people choose it are understandable. The reasons to be cautious are less obvious from the outside. The grinder uses ceramic burrs. Ceramic is quieter than steel, and Philips uses that as a selling point, which is fair enough. What they don't mention is that the burrs in the 3200 are small in diameter for an integrated grinder, small enough that grind quality has a hard ceiling that better machines don't share. Ceramic burrs are also brittle in a way that steel isn't. A small stone or any foreign object that makes it through can chip them, and chipped burrs produce uneven particle sizes that no amount of setting adjustment will fix. The machine gives no indication when this has happened, so you'd be dialing in for weeks wondering why the coffee tastes off, not knowing the grinder was the problem all along. The milk circuit is the other issue. The LatteGo system is easier to clean than older Philips designs, but easier than before doesn't mean easy. The milk path needs daily attention, and users who skip that end up with residue building up in places that are hard to reach, and the coffee starts tasting like it. Community forums for this machine have years of threads about milk circuit maintenance, which tells you something about how persistent the problem is. And then there's a flavor ceiling. The 3200 produces a consistent drink, but it's consistent at a level that serious coffee drinkers find limiting. Adjustments exist, but they're broad rather than precise. The machine optimizes for convenience, and extraction depth is the trade-off. None of that makes it a bad machine for every buyer. For the right household, it does what it promises. It's just frequently bought by people who expect genuine espresso quality with convenience on top, and it doesn't really deliver both. The fifth machine is the De'Longhi La Specialista. This one is the most frustrating entry on this list, because the La Specialista is priced and presented as a premium machine. It runs from around 400 to over 900 euros depending on the variant, the Arte at the low end, the Maestro at the top. It has a built-in grinder, a pressure gauge, a sensor grinding system that De'Longhi says adjusts grind based on resistance. It looks serious. It's designed for someone who wants quality without sourcing separate components. The grinder is where it falls apart. The built-in burr grinder is not a precision grinder, and at the price of the mid-tier Prestigio variant, around 600 to 700 euros, you could buy a Gaggia Classic Evo Pro and a capable standalone grinder like the DF64 for roughly the same outlay. The espresso quality wouldn't be comparable, it would be better. The sensor grinding system is the other problem. It sounds like a useful feature. In practice, it removes control from the user. Experienced home baristas want to set their grind and adjust it based on what the shot is telling them. The La Specialista's system intervenes based on its own readings, which aren't always correct, and users report it locking them out of grind adjustments or nudging the grind in a direction that produces worse results than a manual setting would have. The pressure gauge is a genuine addition. The thermoblock is less ideal at this price. At 500 euros and above, a boiler-based machine is a reasonable expectation. De'Longhi has built something that looks like a serious espresso machine, but the serious espresso machine it's competing against at that price is a separate grinder and a Gaggia, and it doesn't win that comparison. The first machine worth buying is the Gaggia Classic Evo Pro. The Gaggia Classic line has been around since 1991. The current version, the Evo Pro, updated in 2023, is the refined version of a machine the home espresso community has used as a reference point for decades. That longevity isn't sentiment. It's because the machine does specific things correctly that matter for espresso. The group head takes a commercial 58mm portafilter. 58mm is the size used by most professional machines, and every IMS basket, every precision basket, every aftermarket part in the home espresso market is made to fit it. Buying into 58mm means you're not in a proprietary ecosystem. You're using the same parts the rest of the market uses, which matters when you want to upgrade or replace something years down the line. The OPV, the overpressure valve, is set correctly from the factory on the Evo Pro and is adjustable. Earlier classic models shipped with the OPV at around 12 bar, which required modification to fix. The Evo Pro corrected that. 9 bar extraction, properly regulated, out of the box. The aluminium boiler holds temperature more consistently than thermoblock systems, and once it's up to temperature, which takes around 10 minutes for the group head to fully stabilize, it stays there through a shot, in a way that the machines further up this list simply don't manage. You can buy the Evo Pro and use it as is, or add a PID later for precise temperature control, or fit a bottomless portafilter to watch your extraction clearly. The machine is documented exhaustively by the home espresso community. Every modification, every adjustment, every failure mode has been written up somewhere because it's been around long enough that someone has already made every mistake and posted about it. You're buying into 30+ years of accumulated knowledge, and that's worth something. It does ask something of you. You need a separate grinder, you need to learn a workflow, and you need to be willing to wait 10 minutes in the morning. What you get back is real espresso, real control, and a machine that will still be working long after everything else on this list has been replaced. The second machine worth buying is the Breville Barista Express BES870. The case for the Barista Express is specific. It's the best all-in-one espresso setup at its price point for someone who doesn't want to buy components separately. The integrated grinder uses conical steel burrs, and it's not a standalone precision grinder. Put it against a dedicated grinder at the same price, and the dedicated grinder wins. But it's functional, it produces espresso-appropriate grinds, and it's calibrated for the machine it's attached to. For someone starting out, removing that one variable is genuinely useful. The machine extracts at genuine 9 bar pressure with a thermocoil system and PID temperature control. There's a pressure gauge on the front, and you can watch your shot and see what's happening. That feedback loop, the one the Dedica's pressurized basket eliminates, this machine gives it back to you. Single boiler means sequential brew and steam, the same limitation as the Bambino. You brew, you wait briefly, you steam. For milk drinks, that's worth knowing before you buy. The honest recommendation is this: it's a good machine for a specific buyer. If you want everything in one box, don't want to research grinders separately, and are willing to learn a real espresso workflow, it delivers on those terms. If you're willing to buy components separately and have a slightly higher budget, the Gaggia plus a standalone grinder is the stronger long-term setup. Both parts are real. The choice depends on what you want from the process. The espresso machine market is full of products that look like the thing you want: narrow bodies, pressure gauges, chrome finishes, terminology borrowed from professional equipment. Most of it is surface. The machines that actually produce good espresso share a short list of characteristics: proper pressure, temperature stability, an unpressurized basket, and a portafilter size that puts you in a shared ecosystem rather than a proprietary one. 2 machines fitting that description cost roughly what the La Specialista costs. One of them will still be making good espresso in 15 years. That's the comparison worth making before you buy.